Ryu, who is 15 years old, unexpectedly discovers himself in an odd white environment. Furthermore, he is curious as to what is happening. When a blonde man shows up there, he informs him that he is no longer alive, and asking the blonde man if he's God, he answers that he is more like an angel who is here to dispatch him to another planet. Pray for the world to which he will be sent. Possesses magic, which around 20% of people are able to perform. Spells Ryu possesses a talent for water magic, and the angel informs him that he will be dumped in the center of a safe house because he decided to live a leisurely lifestyle in a forest. There will be enough food to last. There will be a 2-month period of observation of him, during which time there will be an invisible barrier that will stop monsters from getting close to him. Soon, Ryu awakens in the home in the center of the street of the forest, and he heads there right away in order to try out his newly discovered magic outside. Skills. Following that, he tries things outside once more, by enchantment, finding out that he is able to. Water may be produced simply by thinking about it, and it's not necessary to recite any spells. He would like to have a warm bath but is unable to do so. Water should be made at room temperature. Thus, he chooses to light a fire instead. He proceeds. By rubbing sticks together, you may start a fire. He gives up. However, he comes up with the notion of utilizing the sun to make fire instead. He did it for that reason. Decides to construct a lens out of ice, visualizing single water molecules, joining together as heat is taken from them, and eventually manages to freeze them, the water. He then sculpts the ice into the ball is used as a lens to initiate a fire. Because of that, he is able to relish a warm. He takes a bath in the evening and discovers that he can make hot water right away if he merely uses the tenets of contemporary science to magic. The following day, since he has some, Ryu believes that breakfast consists of dried meat, that he has to enhance his offensive because he will have to hunt for food, monsters after he exhausts his storage, meals. He starts out by learning to shoot a water ball in a tree, and regardless of the fact that he is capable of hitting his target on the first try, there is no harm done. He isn't. Because of that, he becomes disheartened and chooses to fire, because it emits a powerful jet of water under pressure that will be strong enough. But not enough power can be applied to the water stream. However, he then recalls that the angel informed him that his ability to use magic is the key. He has a strong imagination, which he can improve only by consistent practice. Thus, Ryu continues to practice firing a water jet until he can consistently strike the tree. Additionally, he can produce hot at night, immediately water. He makes an effort the following day, making ice crystals from thin air, since he has always wanted to use the icicle lance magical formula. But it's more difficult to shoot an icicle than anything else, firing water. But Ryu persists, practicing it with the rest of his water variations of magic. He waits a few days, then becomes more proficient in using water and ice, and he chooses to enter into one day the woodland in search of food. He discovers the gorgeous woodland and chooses to collect a few herbs and name it every day. However, he then sees an enraged. Looking at him was a boar. Ryu becomes motionless in horror as the boar assaults him, and he barely manages to move out of its path at the very end. In a flash, a boar just smashes he covers the distance in front of the boar with an ice sheet, causing it to slide. When the boar slips, Ryu moves toward him at a lightning speed, creating several pointed icicles pointing toward. At the end of the runway, the hog strikes the icicles at full speed and turns into right away before passing away. Swiss cheese. Ryu is shocked that he won. He also reads it over at night. The fact that boars are the monsters to look for is what I discovered, the least powerful type of monster. He then observes that the book mentions there are approximately beginner-level monsters. 2 exceptional entries at the conclusion. The first one is about dragons that are sufficiently potent to destroy whole cities. The page is about devils who are beings of. Its origins are unknown. The fact that the universe is excessively large, and he has to gain strength quickly. Thus, he abandons his apparel to go all Tarzan style and retries entering the woods. An assassin hawk strikes him at time, and he almost avoids its initial strike. The massive bird then produces an invisible breeze, slicing at him, and Ryu understands that this beast is far beyond his capacity. The League. He produces ice while fleeing. Behind him, he put blocks to stop the wind, dashes and then blasts water jets at the avian. The killer hawk avoids everything, then a rush towards Ryu. Even while traveling at full speed, he produces ice. At the last second, it struck a wall and stopped it in its tracks. Assault. One of the bird's eyes is gone. Due to the impact, it decides to fall back this time, much to Ryu's. Ryu lost his senses as he moved away from the hawk of direction. When he attempts to reach his he discovers a shining lake out of nowhere, with a headless knight standing on a headless body and the surface of the water. Fortunately, he returns home in one piece and carries on. Following that, exploring the forest, acquiring proficiency while battling tougher enemies. His offensive sorcery. He goes to at night, the lake once more, where the headless. He is being watched by a knight. Ryu might be able to discover nothing about headless riders, or Dullahans in the book, and he wonders if it's because they're at a high level. Ryu targets the headless with his assault, a knight with an ice sword, but he unable to strike even once. It blocks and continues to take hits, giving them all an ice shield. He ultimately runs out of energy and collapses on. The headless knight, however, was on the ground. Because it does not assault him. In reality, he is training him. He rises and the headless knight advances toward him with a little crystal knife in hand. The knight dips the knife in water before doing anything else, makes it freeze. Ryu receives the sword, discovers that the headless knight is, urging him to become proficient in this approach. Ryu soon meets the killer hawk he had battled before. However, the transformed hawk launches wind slashes at Ryu, who makes them ice walls to block them immediately. He barely able to dodge being struck by the assaults that rip through his shields because they are far more robust, more than the previous occasion. Ryu is compelled to fleeing, and he can only block the attacks by hawks. The hawk accelerates quickly. Ryu somehow manages to halt its progress in his direction, piles several ice shields in to form an attack. In front of him, he makes an attempt to strike the hawk, icicles, but it doesn't work out as well. However, the hawk surprises, striking him with a thunderbolt. To finish, the monster swoops down at him. But Ryu manages to retrieve his, parry its strike with a crystal sword. He may even cut through the unseen wind when the bird launched its assaults, and he manages to swoop in on him once again. Stab it in the chest. The hawk. Ryu walks and falls to the ground, in its direction, recognizing that they had just met the monster twice, but they came up with a very close relationship. The hawk is thanked by him to encourage him to become stronger, and the sword is then pulled out so that it may bleed peacefully to die. Then Ryu starts to go home, but then, to his astonishment, there's a dragon there. However, the dragon was quite unexpected, begins speaking to him via telepathy. He is asked by the dragon if he saw a black. Ryu and Hawk are terrified because they believe that he could have murdered the dragon's minion. Fortunately, the dragon appears to be quite calm concerning it, and perhaps even praising Ryu for it. His accomplishment. He then emphasizes that the weapon he has is very uncommon, because it is the fairy's sword, the king. That is unbelievable to Ryu, and he chooses to broaden his knowledge of the world. From the affable dragon who does the intro, himself is Lewin. Although they chat all day, the dragon is summoned in the evening. He tells Ryo from his house that they may be able to. One day we'll meet again. However, the angel immediately realizes he missed a few specifics about Ryo's current situation. It turns out that the second individual in 10,000 years is Ryo, to have a hidden aspect of the angel's profession, endless youth.